Hey, what's up everyone? Back with another opening video, the 113th video opening that I like to share with you, which is called the parallel opening. Definitely the sequence here is extremely short because it's just a 2-move sequence and that kickstarts the parallel opening. So I think I wanted to do this a little bit differently. So on the right you have the versatile board, and the sequence is basically just f5 f4, and that kind of just opens up parallel opening. So I think if I just take one move back and just look at the opening position, regardless of where black plays, obviously all Othello players who play the first move, you know that all the first moves are all the same because they are rotationally symmetrical. So it doesn't really matter where you play, but normally you just play your preferred orientation. So I think over here on that note, typically players, I think almost on 95% or 99% goes for either perpendicular or diagonal. So either one of these moves, basically, because they are +0 and you wouldn't want to give up an early disadvantage. So with parallel opening, you basically just play f4, and f4 just immediately goes into a -6. And I think, if I'm not wrong, it might actually be a -8 opening if played to perfection. I stand corrected if I'm wrong there, but basically over here, this opens up the parallel opening, as you can see at the description below. So I think this family branch of openings, there is some playable lines for you to kind of capitalize on a surprise factor, but definitely not something that you want to play on a regular basis. If everybody knew that you were playing a parallel opening, it's very easy to kind of prepare against you there. So over here, the typical move for black is just simply, out of these 5 moves, just jump into the center, regroup, and of course, if white were to play any of these moves, they are all -6 at this moment. And I think the first common response is to probably f6, and then black basically regroups, and it becomes a very awkward shape this way. And it's very easy for black to kind of just jump into the center. This is kind of like one of the typical playouts that you have. Another typical playout you probably have is maybe white jumping into f2, black jumping into the center, white, and then black regrouping to the center, and either white goes e1, c3, c4. But I think on one hand, while you think about parallel opening being a -6 or -8 opening, you do see that, you actually do have quite a few options to kind of like play a variation. So I think this is one of the variations that I learned from Ju, the top Malaysian player Ju. At least that's what I learned online from him, and basically just tried this sequence. So I think from a practical standpoint, I wouldn't say that this opening is extremely practical unless you are really desperate. So I think just wanted to share one personal experience, is that back in 2016, when I was facing Anchuli Rujipas, now known as Rujipas, previously known as Pianet. So he was also the 2016 World Othello Champion. So before the World Othello Championship in Japan, which is actually like the anniversary tournament every year ending with a 6, basically goes back to Mito, Japan, where the World Othello Championship was first started. So 2016 being the 40th anniversary, I believe, tournament. So basically over here, we have me against Anchuli. I was lucky to kind of make the finals of the Thailand Championship. And, thanks to Live Othello and thanks to a nice archive, you basically can search it easily in the archives. 2016 Thailand Open, you can see me playing against Anchuli in Game 1. So I think with Anchuli, usually the expectation is that he's super book, and he basically plays a perfect book. He's one of the closest to the machines, they say, or at least for that year while he was playing, at a very high level. So I did try to kind of mix things up a little, play a little bit of a variation opening, just to kind of surprise him a little. So yeah, just now looking back at this move, it does seem a bit surprising over here to kind of play f8, leave a 1 square gap, trying to surprise him. But actually, this kind of cut off this mini diagonal and also this mini diagonal to control the lines very, very well. So it became a struggle for me. But this X square was quite a surprising move, I guess, and maybe more like a desperate move because I didn't have much of a choice. But I think I probably held up a decent level of struggle just to kind of close in for parity over here. And at the same time, I did have this mini diagonal over here so that I could go maybe like h2 in the future, sacrifice the corner, but jump in for the hyper even number theory. Yeah, let's take a look at the evaluation. So I was losing minus 10 here, kind of in a desperate position. So I think basically from here there wasn't really much point for me to kind of like struggle, also because actually basically secured parity. So I think with game one losing, losing game one if in a -8 situation, I thought that it'd be very hard to kind of outbook actually, given how good he is. He's known as one of the best book players in the world. Obviously, with him winning the World Othello Championship in 2016 proved that. So interestingly, in conjunction with the parallel opening video that I'm sharing, I wanted to share in game two, just before the final game two, I thought that it was a bit of a do or die situation. So I thought, why not give it a shot? After Angelin played the first move, I actually spent about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes just thinking about, what to do. I think after that, I just played, I spent a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes. So I played parallel opening. As you can see from white, I did play the parallel opening, and I think that kind of shocked most of the spectators back then during the final game. While I think everybody was kind of hungry and waiting for dinner, they probably thought that, okay, it's going to be a quick final. So I did pull off a win against Archuli, the eventual world champion for the year, using parallel opening. So I think the sequence that I'm playing out right now is something that I've learned online from Drew, the top Malaysian player. So I think Drew is definitely a player that plays this variation very well. So I think beyond this point, I was kind of out of book, and I think Anthony was also kind of surprised, so he just tried to play basic fundamental moves like centralizing, head and tail theory. So over here, what I wanted to do here was to just control this mini diagonal, cut out, and just pressure the opponent. So I think Anthony was kind of just focused on maintaining line control. So over here, I just wanted to poison back e2. So that's pretty obvious. Over here, I just wanted to create a surprise factor to let him decide whether to take the unbalanced edge or jump in. So I think over here I've established quite a nice unbalanced edge that is attackable. So I think even up to this point, it does still look like black is in a comfortable position, but at the same time, I was trying my best to just kind of hold on to and avoid making mistakes, see what's a possible clear move to play. So I think this is probably a special move, I guess, more of a quiet move along the longest continuous column of this, just to kind of either secure the edge. If he takes this, I can secure the edge and gain one tempo, or if he takes the edge, I can probably secure another one of these kind of threatening moves to the unbalanced edge. So over here, he fed off the unbalanced edge. Interestingly, he did not have access over here. Actually, just going back to this sequence, it was kind of strange for him to kind of play b1 to kind of threaten himself, put him up in a risky position, I guess. So over here, he played off over here. All right. So I played to the center, and okay. So basically, this one I did play a bit of a surprise move over here just to kind of hold it off, and at the same time, I think it became a very difficult position for black to play. So yeah, essentially I was just trying my best to hold off one move at a time, essentially just struggling. So over here, I think the surprise factor was that white's parity managed to pull it off. 1, 2, 3, 4 combined squares into one region that are all kind of connected. If black went into e2, I would probably jump into h4 and feed off, and I'll still be able to retain parity. But on the hindsight, maybe if black went in, white could have easily just played g8 and do a swindle against e8. Let's check the rating. Okay, so maybe I was wrong. So I guess Anjali did play the best sequence possible, and I did manage to kind of cut back into this corner access over here and somehow managed to find a win back. So I think everybody was kind of surprised that the parallel opening worked against a potential a multi semi-finalist at the World Othello Championship, and also the eventual World Othello champion for that year. So I think with parallel opening, it's definitely a high risk opening, but at the same time, I don't want to say it's an opening that is completely unplayable. So if you do think that there's some potential to it, you're definitely free to kind of just try it and see whether it works for you. I would say I did it one more time at the World Othello Championship 2016 against Mitsuya, and I did have a draw line, but I kind of messed up the end game and ended up losing that game. But I would say there is some potential for a bit of surprise factor, but it wouldn't be an opening that you kind of just play non-stop, but rather kind of like a surprise jab hit and run kind of opening, maybe even in the Blitz games. So I think that's all for the parallel opening introduction, and following this video we'll be covering a couple of potential play outlines that you can have within parallel opening. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you at the next video. Goodbye.